Hey, what's up everyone? Southside Braves here, and today for you I got what has become the most requested video on my channel. We have the Rocket Draft League Week 11 preview. At this point, we got 2 weeks left before playoffs. A lot of teams have already cemented either their spot or they're not making it, but a lot of teams still fighting for those last few spots. So very intense games here in the last 2 weeks. All that being said, let's look at the week that just finished. First matchup of the week, we had the Seattle Supersonics and the Philadelphia Pidgeys. Going into the week, the Pidgeys had the final playoff spot at the moment, but the Supersonics very much were still alive for it. So, that being said, this was a huge matchup for both teams. The Supersonics brought a bulky team that the Pidgeys couldn't find enough ways quite to get past. Offensively, Keldeo really carried the way for the Supersonics, picking up both their kills, while the Alolan Ninetales picked up their one and only kill for the Pidgeys. You can see the play of the match here on the screen was a switch-in that the Pidgeys thought Seismitoad could live from this Keldeo. It could not. It did pick up a crit. I don't know the calcs. I don't know how much it mattered, but Keldeo picks up a big kill there on the switch-in. And like I said, that would be the first of its 2 kills. So, yeah. I do watch all these games that I put up here. I don't just kind of guess and look at the stats and pick a play. I do watch the entire match. And let me just say, I thought this was one of the most impressive 5-4 wins I've ever seen. Usually if a team's really impressive, they pick up a big 4-point, 5-point win. Supersonics, I thought, played really, really well in this. I thought they made nearly every right decision. And I was just very impressed with the Supersonics play in this game. So, all that being said, they did keep their playoff hopes alive with the win. So, both these teams still fighting for that last spot in the left conference on Showdown. Or not on Showdown, sorry, on the draft website. If any of the commissioners listen to this and I could make one suggestion for next season, it would be, I love the conference setup. It would be give the conferences a name, not just the divisions. Because when I talk about the conference, I don't really have a name to go off of. So, I just say left conference and right conference. That is the way I see them on the website. So if they could have a name, it'd make my job a little bit easier. I'd appreciate it. I just want to throw that in there. All right, moving on to the next match. We had the Omnites of the Round Table versus the Volcaronas. Volcaronas were currently best record in the league. They have already wrapped up their division. They have not wrapped up the 1 seed quite yet in the left conference, but they have wrapped up their division. So this didn't matter as much to them as the Omnites, who were still fighting for their playoff lives. The Omnites do pick up the 3-1 win, with on the side you can see Dracovish picking up 2 kills and dying. Rillaboom and Slurpuff both picking up a kill. And then the 3 kills from the Volcaronas came from Clefable, Porygon Z, and Shiftry. This win, actually with the Pidgeys loss combined with this win from the Ammonites, puts the Ammonites in the final playoff spot right now. So the Ammonites currently hold, with 2 weeks ago, that final playoff spot. So, yeah. Can they hold on to it? We'll find out. Moving on to the next match, it was the Morpicos versus the Rampardos. I believe, looking at the site and looking at the stats and everything, I believe this was a forfeit. I didn't see any kills or anything, and I just saw 3-0 in there. So I believe the Morpicos picked up a 3-0 forfeit win. Hopefully that's accurate. With this, the Rampardos do get eliminated from playoff contention. And even though they picked up a win, the Morpicos, they also needed an Ammonite loss to stay alive. So because the Ammonites won, the Morpicos can no longer make the playoffs, and they have also been eliminated. Moving on to your next game. It was the Maryland Litwicks and the Miltanks. This is actually the match that why you're seeing this video a little bit late this week. There was a request. I made this my game of the week last week, and I know it was being played a little bit later, and I was requested to push the video back a little bit so the battle could go up on YouTube first, so I could watch it and throw it into my video. So I did. I gladly waited. I watched the battle earlier tonight and threw it in here. So yeah, that's why you're seeing this a little bit late. The Miltanks did get their revenge on the Litwicks from their loss earlier in the season. Miltanks, Entei picked up 2 kills. Porygon went 2-1. And Claydol went 1-1 for the Litwicks. Tapu Koko picked up 2 kills. Mandibuzz went 1-1. And Copperajah couldn't get much done for him. The Miltanks clinch a playoff berth with this win, so they are officially in the playoffs. They could actually still get the 1 seed. if stuff breaks their way, they need to win both their final 2 games and hope for 2 Volcarona's losses. So, and I think they might still need a Litwick loss as well. They do. They need the Litwicks to lose one and the Volcaronas to lose both, and they have to win both. If that were to happen, the Milkshakes can still get the 1 seed. But either way, they are officially in the playoffs. Porygon 2, as you can see on the screen, really controlled the first half of this match, setting up a curse and then just last resorting away. Killed a Primarina. I think it killed Caporaja later on, I believe. It won a little stall fest with Caporaja. Not much of a stall fest, but he just had to hit it a few times. Got some recovers off. So Porygon, like I said, absolutely controlled the first half of this match. And then to end the match, Scarf Entei came in with Eruption and just finished it off. He made sure the match ended in the Miltank's favor. They do pick up that 3-0 win. The Litwicks had already clinched a playoff spot the previous week, so this doesn't hurt them too bad. But if they do want to increase their seed a little bit, they could pick up another win or two. And they are also still alive for that 1 seed in that left conference. Moving on to your match number 5. You have the Virginia Scizors versus the Grayling Vikavolt. This one came down to the wire. This was a very close one. Again, by 2 teams still alive for the playoffs. The Scizors had to get a win or they were eliminated. So, that being said, Scizors, Slowking picked up 1 kill for them. Garchomp went 1-1. And for the Vikavolts, Trapinch picked up 1 kill and Gardevoir went 1-1. The Vikavolts, Gardevoir versus the Sylveon for the Scizors had a weird Calm Mind off battle in the middle of this that kind of ate a lot of the clock. They both got up to 6 Calm Minds. It was kind of weird. A Psy Shock from the Gardevoir absolutely would have ended that whole charade or whatever you want to call it, their standoff. But either way, the Gardevoir did win that Calm Mind battle and ended up taking out the Sylveon. But then after that, he brought in Garchomp, and he was confident that Gardevoir could live a Earthquake from the Garchomp. If it did, he probably wins the match. But unfortunately, he was incorrect. As you can see on the screen, after he does kill the Sylveon, Gardevoir does come in. Garchomp does come in, pick up the EQ kill on Gardevoir, which was pretty massive in a match with only 4 kills. All that being said, Scizors did pick up the 4-4 win, so their season is still alive by the skin of their teeth. And the Vikavolts would have clinched a playoff spot with a win, but unfortunately with the 4-4 loss, they did not. All they have to do is win 1 of their last 2, and even if they don't, they still have a chance of making it if the Scizors drop 1 of theirs. But yeah, so still in a great spot to make the playoffs, and like I said, if I had to guess a percentage, probably like 96% likely they would be, maybe not that high, maybe like 90. Because like I said, they have to win 1 of 2, or the Scizors lose 1 of 2. And the Scizors also have to make just trying to look at differentials real quick, a 9-point differential comeback as well. So not only do the Scizors need to win both their last 2, they need to win big. So I do think the Vikavolts will still be in the playoffs, but they did not quite clinch this week. Moving on to match number 6. You had the Indianapolis Molts versus the Detroit Shock. This one definitely the biggest blowout of the week. Molts unfortunately have not had the season they've looked for with a 1-9 record, whereas the Shock are up there with the elite of the league, playing as well as anyone with an 8-2 record. And Shock do officially clinch their playoff berth as well. A little surprised they didn't clinch last week, but just looking at the math, and again, I'm just looking at this and doing the math myself. I did used to be a math teacher, so hopefully I'm doing it all right. But from what I saw, they had not officially clinched last week. They did officially clinch this week with the win. So congrats on them making the playoffs. Galarian Zapdos and Aegislash absolutely just dominated this match. Zapdos picked up 4 kills at the end, kind of swept through the team at the end. The only death was Zapdos killing himself with Brave Bird. And honestly, it was a little confusing the way that ended. I kind of agree if you're watching the battle on the stream. If he brings in Girder a little earlier, forces the Zapdos to kill himself with Brave Bird, maybe he can bring back that differential a little bit. I don't really think he had a chance of winning the match at that point, but maybe could have kept it a little closer. But again, Molt's season's over. It's not like he really cost himself anything with that. Once this Blaze Click that you're seeing landed on Escavalier, the match was really over at this point. And the Shock with the win are still tied for that number 1 seed over in the right conference, as I've been calling them. They are tied for best record with the Hydreigons. They are 5 points down in differential. I think 5. Actually 6, I believe. I don't think I added the 1 for the Hydreigons this week. So I think they're 6 down. But they are tied in record. So very close battle for the 1 seed over in the right still. But Shock, very good chance of getting it if the Hydreigons can drop a game for them. Moving on to your next match. It was mine. The Nido Kings taking on the Blazekins. I was still alive for the playoffs at this point. I needed to pick up a win against Sen and the Blazekins. Fortunately, it did not go my way. Charizard picked up my one and only kill. For my opponent, Dragonite picked up 2 and Ferrothorn picked up 2. And really that Ferrothorn is the reason I could not get past his team. I couldn't break through it. I went for a play here that you're seeing on the screen with Como to try to set up and kill it with a Drain Punch. Or even, I think I might have had Close Combat. I don't remember the set completely. But Leech Seed was such a good play by my opponent. Once I had set up my only way, I didn't have Close Combat, just Drain Punch. The only way to stay alive at this point was I had to hit a Drain Punch, even though I was 90% sure he would just switch into Mimikyu, so I would make sure to die to the Leech Seed. I didn't really have a choice. I had to go for that play. He makes the right decision, and the Leech Seed kills me. And at that point, the match was pretty much over. I didn't really have a way past Ferrothorn at that point, because anytime Charizard came in, Ferrothorn was leaving. So, yeah, Blazekins clinch a playoff spot with their win against me. Again, I'm unfortunately eliminated with the loss. So, haven't had the season I wanted. I will not be in the playoffs. But I will be back stronger next season. I do plan on taking it a little bit more seriously, not having the layoff in the middle of the season where I kind of didn't do anything. So, next season I'll be better. Next season you'll see me in the playoffs. You have my word. And I won't have a Ferrothorn completely wall my team like I did in this game. So, yeah. But good luck to Sen in the playoffs. He did clinch his spot by beating me. And that being said, good luck to all the playoff teams. I'm looking forward to seeing those matches. And we had one last match for the week. We had the Hydreigons versus the Raikus. Hydreigons picked up a 6-5 victory, with Thunderous T picking up the one and only kill in the entire match. Yeah, not much to say. I didn't get to see it. Hydreigons are 8-2. Like I said, they are tied with the Shock for the best record over in the right conference. The Raikus are 2-8, and again, their season has been over for a couple weeks now. Yeah, so the Raikus will join me at home watching the playoffs instead of being in them. But Hydreigons, like I said, are currently that number 1 team over in the right conference. All right, moving on to our power rankings. I kind of did them in 3 tiers almost. I still did 4 different slides, but kind of in 3 tiers. I did the teams that are completely eliminated from the playoffs at the bottom and kind of ranked where I thought the eliminated teams are amongst themselves. Then in the middle, I did the teams still fighting for a playoff spot. And then in the top, I did all the ones that have clinched. And I'm going to be honest, looking at the ones that have clinched, the ones I thought were the best picked up losses this week. I'm looking at you, Litwix, and Volcaronus. But honestly, they didn't have a ton to play for. They had already clinched. So did they kind of take it easy this week? Maybe not prep as much? Probably. But I can't just not penalize them for a loss. So when we get to those top 6 or 7, I could really draw those out of a hat right now. But again, there are some really strong teams near the top. But looking at the bottom, like I said, 4 teams here that are eliminated from the playoffs. I did put the Molts in that last spot at that 16. I dropped the Rampardos 5 for a forfeit loss. I believe that's a forfeit. If it wasn't a forfeit and the stats just weren't ever entered, I apologize. I probably dropped them too far. But if it was a forfeit, I tend to penalize forfeit losses a little harshly. Yeah, hopefully nothing personal there. Morpicos actually picked up that forfeit win. They've been playing a little bit better as of late. Went up 2 spots, but unfortunately it's a little bit too little too late. And they are still eliminated this week. You got the Raikus at 13, also eliminated. Moving on to the next one, you had one last eliminated team, and that was myself. I fell 3 spots to 12. I mean, probably a little biased putting myself as the top of the eliminated teams. But I felt like I had a good start to the season, and I can justify myself being at the 12th spot. Next up, you have this group, like I said, of the ones still fighting for that playoff spot. You have the Pidgeys at number 11. They picked up a tough loss this week. It was a very close loss, but it's one that really hurt their chances. They were in position to hold on to the last spot if they could just pick up a few wins, and they didn't get it done. I know, very close. They played all right, but I do drop them to number 11. Whereas the Scissors, when they needed it, had to get a clutch win to stay alive. They did pick up that win against a high-ranked opponent. They played the Vigavolts. So they picked up a big win when they needed it, so I raised them up 4 spots because of that to 10. The Omnites go up 3 spots because, like I said, they do hold that final spot over in the left conference at the moment. So I do move them up to 9. And again, the Supersonics also picked up a big win in a very close game, that game against the Pidgeys, so they move up to 8. In the last of those teams, the one I have ranked the highest of those teams that haven't clinched is the Vigavolts. I do believe they are the best of the non-clinched teams. Like I said, I think it's almost a guarantee they make the playoffs, but they haven't technically clinched. But I do have them at that 7 spot because of it. Now moving on to the top 6, the 6 teams that have already clinched playoffs, they will be there. Again, these 6, you can really grab out of a hat, and I think you could make an argument that you're right. This is the way I've ordered them. The Blazikins, I feel a little bit bad. They went down 2 spots even though they beat myself. But I just looked at those top 6, what I've seen all season from them. And I think I've seen it a little more consistently out of the other 5 than I have the Blazikins. I love you, Sen, but I just think that's the case. Like I said, I can make a case for Blazikins being number 1, but I do have them here at 6. Next up, I have the Shock, a team that had number 1 throughout much of the season early when I was doing these. Thought I had a tough week last week. Maybe hadn't been on top of their game for last 2 weeks or so. But came out really strong this week. Very, very dominant performance. Definitely the most dominant performance of the week. So they go up 2 spots to number 5. And again, I could definitely put them back at number 1 if I wanted to. The Volcaronas, who are tied for the best record in the league, I have down here at 4. And the main reason them compared to everyone else is if you look at them compared to the other 5 in the top 6, their differential's just not there. They have a +9. They're the only team in the top 6 without a double-digit differential. And I know that's a lot of the reason because of the way their team played early in the season, especially. I know they picked up, I think, multiple 6-6 wins. They had like a 6-5 win. So their differential never built up because their team was so bulky in winning those stalemate timer games. But differential's got to mean something, right? So that being said, I do have them down here at 4. They did pick up a loss this week, so they do fall the 3 spots. But again, I think that loss is just, they've kind of already clinched. Why put all this effort into prepping when it's already there for you? So that's why I'm giving the Volcaronas a little slack for the loss. But again, differential is the main reason why they're on the lower half of these top 6. All right, moving on to my top 3. The Litwicks I have holding steady at number 3, even though they did lose to the Miltanks in the rematch. I still think they're a fantastic team. I think they'll do great in the playoffs. I'm going to leave them at number 3. Hydreigons picked up a very close win against a team with a much lesser record than them. If it was a more dominant win, they would be in my number 1 team this week. But the fact that they let the Raikus stick around and only picked up the 1-point win, maybe if I could have seen it too, I could have seen it was played differently. Maybe. If it was a more dominant win, they would be my number 1 team. And honestly, if I had to put money on a team winning the championship right now, if it was $100, who do you got winning it? Honestly, I think I got the Hydreigons as my favorite to actually win the championship when it comes playoff time. Just being honest, I think if I had to pick one, I think I'd pick Blatto and the Hydreigons. But all that being said, power rankings is who's playing the best right now. Hydreigons picked up a very close win. Miltanks picked up a very much more dominant win when they needed it against a team that had beaten them earlier. It clinched them a playoff spot. I think they're one of the hottest teams at this current moment. They have the tied for the second best differential. Again, only behind the Litwicks. The Litwicks have the best differential. That's why they're still in the top 3. And like I said, could have made a case for them being number 1 as well. Like I said, all these top 6 can make a case for the number 1 spot. But I am going to go with the team I think is playing the best at this current moment, and that's the Miltanks. So that being said, I do have the Miltanks at number 1. But like I said, Litwicks have the best differential. The Hydreigons have what I think is the best chance to win the championship. The Volcaronas have one of the best records in the league. And then you got the Blazekins and the Shock down there. And like I said, I've loved the Shock all season. They were the most dominant team this week. So, like I said, these top 6, I think, are going to go nuts. And then those final 2 spots are still going to be tricky. Don't count those teams out. If I had to guess, I think the Vickelvolts will definitely be one of those final 2. And then that final spot's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. Ammonites could get it. Ammonites, the Pidgeys, and the crap. Sorry, I'm blanking on a team's name. Oh, and the Supersonics. The Ammonites, Pidgeys, and Supersonics, I think, have the best 3, or I think they're the only 3 chances for that final spot. The only way the Scizors make it is if they catch the Vickelvolts. So I think the battle between the Ammonites, Pidgeys, and Supersonics in these final 2 weeks is going to be super exciting. One of those 3 teams will be in. So, yeah, check out their battles, find out who. All that being said, let's take a look at the standings. Like I said, in the Sword Division, the Hellblaze Volcaronos have already clinched that division. That's done. But those 3 teams right behind them, as you're looking at them, are all fighting for that final playoff spot. The Rampardos cannot get it because they would not be able to catch the Ammonites because they did lose the Ammonites earlier in the season. So that's why the Rampardos at 3-7 over there have been eliminated. But that whole division, the whole Sword Division is still alive, even though the Volcaronos have clinched the division. Over in the Shield, you have the Litwicks and the Miltanks. 2 of my top 3 teams in the league still battling out for the winner of that division, where the Rampardos and the Morpicos have been eliminated. Moving on to the Shadow Division, the Shock have not quite clinched that division yet. The Vicvolts can still come back and take it from them. And like I said, the Scizors, it says 3-7, but somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. They won the tie, and I don't think that's been adjusted yet. So I do believe, looking at it a little deeper, they are 4-6, not 3-7. So that is why they're still alive. If they win both by hefty differential, they can catch the Vickelvolts, even though it's going to be extremely tough. So that's why I do think the Shock and Vickelvolts will both be there. And then the Molts have been eliminated. Over in the ice, the Hydreigons and Blazekins have both clinched. The Nidokings and Raikus are both out. Blaziken still can catch the Hydreigons. Also going to be a little tough, but it is still doable. So that is your division standings at the moment. Players of the week. Sorry, guys. I haven't done this in one before, but give me just 1 second. I'm going to be right back. All right, guys. Sorry about that weird cut. I had something I had to run and go do real fast. But I am back, and we are at the Players of the Week. For the Sword Division, I am giving it to Keldeo of the Supersonics, who picked up 2 kills in their big win. For the Shield Division, we are giving it to the Miltanks Entei, even though, honestly, the Porygon has a case to make it too. Entei cleaned it up at the end and stayed alive. Porygon did end up going down. So that's why I gave it to the Entei over the Porygon, but either one from the Miltanks could have been there. From the Shadow Division, we are giving it to the Galarian Zapdos from the Shock. Picked up 4 kills and really just dominated at the end of that match. And from the Ice Division, we are giving it to the Blaziken's Ferrothorn, who really walled my team and pretty much sealed that match for him. And then in the middle, you can see we have the Coach of the Week this week, the Detroit Shocks, Bosif. Congrats to him. Again, phenomenal 5-0 win. His Zapdos did his job, and Aegislash was a good sidekick for the Zapdos. While I'm here, I actually wanted to throw something by you guys. Let me know what you think. I know a bunch of coaches have asked if they could be in this series, and I'm all open to that idea. I want to make that happen, but I want it to kind of be in an organized way. The way I kind of thought we could do this next season, and even at the end of this season, is when we get to the playoff one. After the final week of the season, I want to do kind of a little interview with each of the playoff coaches if they're on board for doing it, and kind of have an interview section, and also include that going into next season, or obviously one of our playoff teams like week 1. Whoever I kind of deem the coach of the week, kind of have a portion where I interview that coach, what went right, what was big in their prep, stuff like that. For the playoffs this season, I'll ask them stuff about what was their biggest moment of the season, most important Pokemon on their team, toughest match, toughest opponent, who they think could win it all besides themselves, stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of test it out with the playoffs this season. If any of the playoff coaches are interested in that, I'm going to be reaching out to you, and I'd love to have you on. And like I said, I want to do that with the coach of the week each week next season. So if you guys like that idea, let me know. If you think I should do it a different way, I'm open to ideas. But that's the way I think I can kind of organize it, keep it fair who gets to be on it. Because I don't want to have like 7 people on it if they all want to be on it. But I think that's the way to keep it fair and organized and very structured into my format. Because I'm a very OCD person. I like the way my stuff's formatted. So I think that's a way it would fit in perfectly and kind of give everyone a fair chance of being on it. So that's what my thought is right now. Again, I'm open to suggestions. Please leave either in the comments, in the Discord, wherever you want. Let me know what you think of that idea. Yeah, all that said, let's move on. We have the league leaders. Kills, Mew is actually leading from the Litwicks with 13, followed by a tie between Aegislash and Dragonite from the Shock and Blazikins respectively. And then Regieleki and Tapu Koko bringing up the top 5 with 11 each from the Rampardos and Litwicks. Much closer when you look at kill-death ratios, which is kind of the one I lean to a little bit more, to be honest. I think I don't know, I like that a little bit better because I like Pokemon that will stay alive as well, not just hit hard and then die. So at the top of that one, you have a tie between Clefable and Dragonite from the Volcaronas and Blazikins. Then after that, you have a massive 7-way tie between 2 members of the Hydreigons with Thundurus and Cinccino. No idea if I say Cinccino's name right, by the way. It's just Pokemon I've never heard pronounced. So if I'm saying that way wrong, sorry. Next up, or 2 more of them, you had 2 members from the Litwicks with Tapu Koko and Mew. And then you had a member from the Shock with Zapdos Galarian form, Regieleki from the Rampardos, and Aegislash from the Shock. Those are your top kill-death ratio leaders. Alright, now let's jump into Week 11. First match of the week, we have the Seattle Supersonics versus the Ammonites of the Round Table. I told you going into it, Supersonics, Ammonites, Pidgeys. One of those 3 is going to make it. Loser of this game right here, if it's the Supersonics, they're out. If it's the Ammonites, man, that last spot just gets so much crazier. Because if the Pidgeys were to win, and the Supersonics beat the Ammonites, they're all going to be at 5 wins. It's going to be anyone's for the taking in the final week. So, all that being said, I'm kind of rooting for the Supersonics for that reason. And, you know what? I'm going to pick the Supersonics. I'm picking the Supersonics to win this and make that last spot in the final week so chaotic and so fun. So, Supersonics, if you lose, you kind of make it a 2-horse race between the Ammonites and the Pidgeys and really cement the Ammonites' chances of taking it. Yeah, it'd actually go down to the last week of the season between those 2. Like I said, I want the Supersonics to win, make it hectic. So I'm going to pick the Supersonics to win this. After their match I saw this week as well, like I said, one of the most dominant 5-4 games I think I've ever seen. Well, I wouldn't say dominant. The Pidgeys were in it the whole time. But just well played. One of the more well-played games I've seen. So I think the Supersonics do it again and pick up this win and once again keep their playoff hopes alive. Moving on to the second matchup of the week. You have the Pidgeys versus the Volcaronas. Again, the Volcaronas in that top spot. I do think they could do kind of what I think. Again, I'm just spectating what they did last week. Or speculating. I believe they kind of took their foot off the gas. Hey, it's like, hey, I got locked up. I don't really need to prep. I'm just going to go in. And they could easily do that again this week because they're obviously still locked up in the playoffs. But I think they're going to come out a little tougher this week against a little bit of a opponent that has something to lose. I really want to pick the Pidgeys, though, because that would make that 3-way race so much more chaotic as well. But I think the Volcaronas bounce back, and I think the Volcaronas win this. I believe the Pidgeys would still be alive, though, if the Supersonics beat the Round Table, the Ammonites. Yeah, I think they would still be alive. They would. So I think the Pidgeys lose this, but still stay alive going into the final week of the season. Yeah, so moving on to matchup number 3. You have the Morpicos versus the Litwicks. Litwicks, again, one of those top 6 teams. Another one that kind of had a letdown. Again, might be for some of the same reason when they played the Mill Tanks. It's like, hey, I got my playoff spot. Why do I really need to put full effort in? I'm not saying that's what happened. I did watch theirs. I didn't think they played that poorly, but maybe brought some of the same sets, not really wanting prep. They do play the Morpicos, who have not had a great season. Were just eliminated this previous week. I am going to go with the team that still has something to play for over the team that has nothing to play for. I am going to go with the Litwicks to win this. Again, I think they'll bounce back. They're one of the better teams in the league. I think they bounced back from their loss last week. Moving on to matchup number 4, you have the Rampardos versus the Miltanks. Again, if I'm incorrectly saying this, I apologize to the Rampardos, but I think they forfeited last week. Again, if I'm wrong, I apologize. Whereas the Miltanks played fantastic, beat somebody that had beaten them earlier in the season, put a ton of effort into it, has been playing great as of late, and all those reasons, I put them as number 1 in my power rankings, and I'm going to believe they continue that, and I am going to say the Miltanks roll through the Rampardos here. Again, the Rampardos don't really have anything to play for at this point. I think they kind of, not throwing the towel, but you don't see full maximum concentration from them in this match, and I think the Miltanks kind of run over the Rampardos a little bit in this one. Moving on to matchup number 5, we have the Scissors versus the Molts. Again, Molts, another one of those teams with nothing to play for. The Scissors, like I said, are still alive, but just barely. They not only need to win this, they need to dominate this to have a chance. They have to win. They have to make up 9 in 2 weeks. So they have to at least win by 3. Probably more. You're probably looking for at least a 5 or 6 point win this week. So they need to find a way to sweep through this team. I am going to pick them to win. I don't know if I pick them to dominate as much as they need to, though. I'm going to say they win 3-0 or 4-0, and it keeps their season alive, but I don't think they do enough to make that last week really in reach. But I am going to pick the Scissors to win. Like I said, Scissors, if you're listening, you got to dominate. You got to find a way to get a ton of kills on the board. Moving on to matchup number 6. This one's my game of the week, in my opinion. Vicavolt and Shock, 2 teams I think will definitely be in the playoffs. Shock have already confirmed their spot. Vicavolt, like I said, just make this close and you're in. If you don't let the Shock blow you out, you're in the playoffs. A win and you're for sure in. So, I think it's the opposite, if I am correct in saying this. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe if they lose by 2 or less, if they lose by 1 or 2, or just win, the Vicavolts clinch. So they don't even need to win. They just need it to be close to clinch their spot. So I can't not pick the Shock after what I saw last week. They just rolled through the Molts. So I am going to pick the Shock to win this. But I do think the Vicavolts are going to keep it close and lose, I'm going to say 2-0 and actually clinch a spot with the loss. But I am going to say the Shock win it. But again, this is my game of the week. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think the Vicavolts keep it close and very much could win at the end. But again, I don't even think it's needed. Just keep it close and I think you do your job. Moving on to matchup number 7. It's myself versus the Hydreigons. And yeah, one of these teams is going to the playoffs. One of them is not. Unfortunately, I'm not the one that I want to be. I'm not the one going. But I'm going to try to add a loss to Hydreigons. I'm going to try to help the Blazikins out and make sure they win the division by taking down the Hydreigons one time. So, yeah. And if nothing else, I want to help my... I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to your coach ranking on the site. I've been paying attention to that. I'm way, way lower than I want to be. Haven't been as successful as I want to be. I'm going to turn that around next season. But I'm going to try to start that right now and take down a coach that's ranked much, much higher than myself in Blattle. And yeah, I'm going to try to give him a loss here at the end of the season. So, and again, I'm never not going to pick myself. I'm sure anyone else watching this, the smart decision is to pick the Hydreigons. I'm picking myself. I'm going to go try to add a loss to Hydreigon's tally. Moving on to the final match of the week. You have the Blazikins versus the Raikus. very much like the matchup before. Same division. One team going to the playoffs, one that's not. Like I said, if you were an outside perspective, you would pick the Hydreigons over myself, the Nidokings. I am an outside perspective of this one. I think it's very much the same situation. And so I'm going to do what I told you guys to do for the other one. And, whoops, that's supposed to say Blazikins. Let me actually fix that real quick. So, yeah, I'm going to pick the Blazikins in that final spot to beat the Raikus. So, yeah, those are my picks for the week. Very fun league coming down to the wire here last couple weeks. I think I covered everything I need to. Hope you guys enjoy these. Like I said, these have been doing very well on my channel. I appreciate it. Hope you guys keep checking it out. Like I said, let me know what you think about the coach interview portion of the show. If you think that's a good idea to add that. Any other segments you want to see me kind of add for next season? Looking how I can maybe improve these even a little bit more. So yeah, I'm open to ideas of little segments to add for next season. Like I said, the only one I have in mind right now is that interview for Coach of the Week or playoff coaches if we're in playoffs. So yeah, let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Feel free to check out some of my other videos. I appreciate all the love and support for this. And good luck to all the coaches in the final 2 weeks and going to the playoffs. All right. And that's all. You guys have a good night. See ya.